Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Resident Evil T-Veronica X. In the last part we escaped the prison and made our way over here to the palace area, exploring more or less all we could of it for now. And now we got the Navy proof. We're going to want to hold on to that because that's one of our longer term goals in the game. Now we explored by and large the entirety of the palace that we could. But in doing so, we ended up finding ourselves the steering wheel. If you had explored this entire area before even entering the palace, you would have found an octagonal-shaped hole that is empty. The steering wheel is what we need to use on that, because if you investigate the back of the steering wheel, it has an octagon back to it. Also, we can find bowgun arrows pretty early here. It's a bit weird immediately coming from Gaiden, but unlike Gaiden, you can actively pick up any single piece of ammo you find even before finding the weapon, and God, I missed being able to do that in Gaiden. Still, let's use this steering wheel and see what happens. Turn the steering wheel? Sure. You know, Umbrella's always kind of erred on the side of extravagant with their puzzles and doors and locks. This might be up there as their most extravagant, though. More importantly, though, there is a side pack. This allows us to gain 2 extra inventory slots. I don't know why you would ever not grab this, honestly, unless there's, like, challenge runs, because 2 extra slots is handy. Yeah, though, this is all just to get to another part of the base, so why even have this besides just maybe having an elevator? Because, like, that didn't just take us down. That took us down, across, and back up to a different place. This has always been one of their weirdest doors in the entire series to me, but I kind of respect it for that compared to some of the other stuff they do, because it's not like, here's a shield that opens a door, or here's, like, 6 keys you need. It goes beyond just being weird and goes to the side of absurd that I can appreciate. This, I believe, is part of the military training facility, though, and we're here for a key item we need to get anyway, but it's also notable that we can use a couple of key items we found here already in the long term. Make sure you have the lighter before entering this room, by the way, because if you don't have it equipped, the bats here will attack you. This device powers the boarding lift. Push the switch. That'll bring that over to us, and you might be able to tell what's going on here already just based off what we got here. Apparently, a control lift for the panel. Push the switch. It won't work. Something seems to be missing. Hexagons, huh? Where have we seen those anytime recently? The Navy proof is the first of 3 keys we need to progress into that plane over there, and even then, that is far long-term goals. End of the first half of the game, kind of long-term. And we're technically, mathematically, if we look at the amount of parts this LP is, we're getting close to being a 1/4 of the way through the game. Because, like I mentioned last part, this is by and large the longest classic Resident Evil, and it shows even in the part count. There are a couple of scenes like that where they just move the camera to show they can. And, like, it's cool, especially after playing 3 games that are just pre-rendered backgrounds, but it's also like, man, they really focus more on the graphical improvements for this game, it feels like, in a lot of ways. And it makes me wonder if that's why they designed some of the extra rooms the way they do, just so they could show off these cool tricks they could do. It's impressive, but it shows some tedium after a while. Remember that the markings above that keyhole show K402 for long in the future, by the way. So the general thing we need to do in this room, if you look around in that little elevator that's down the floor, there's some items shining down there we need to grab. But the control panel is blocked off by some shipping crates, so we need to play the crane game to get rid of them. It's pretty easy, though. Push it up all the way until it stops, and then left all the way till it stops, and you're golden. I'm also only now realizing I think they just partially reused some source code of this in a certain scene in Resident Evil 4. Now, the moment you do this, you can go over there and turn on the control panel and you're all good. But you can also head over here to this other room to get an idea of what's to come in the game. Ideas of what to do later on. Because of the sheer amount of rooms in Code Veronica, it's a pretty good idea to do this. Because the control lever for this panel is missing. We're gonna need that. I remember when I first played the game, it took me a couple tries to actively beat this, either because I got a dead game in at least one instance, or because I just wasn't feeling it. I recall one of the times I just put the game down was actually right after this next scene or two. Lift may not operate, the power levels are low. Oh no! Thank God the power levels weren't low, but now we have another problem. This set of zombies is surprisingly tricky to cart around for one key reason. There's a fifth one who's a sleeper on the floor who gets up who just starts moving after a few seconds, and that makes moving around here surprisingly tight. Now we have a biohazard card. The main thing about this is we can use it in the military training facility. That gives us our next destination. We're actually done in this portion of the area for now. We need to head to the main facility. I remember in my practice run of the game, I ended up getting through these zombies flawlessly. Not so much here. I'm assuming that's mostly because I just did different movement. Because zombies in this game are both really easy to predict, but also kind of hard to predict, because sometimes they'll take turns that they didn't before. I think a couple of them can go for dives on your legs, but that might be me thinking of the Grey Children in Silent Hill, because I also just finished that LP a couple days back. Hard to remember. Hard to remember. Now, I brought up my experience a moment ago. I remember the first time I played Code Veronica was maybe around 2011 through 13, somewhere in that range. This was the second to last classic Resident Evil I played. The last one I played was 0. And I remember when I first saw an LP of this by a Let's Player who hasn't uploaded in years at this point. I wasn't liking the feeling of the game just watching that playthrough, but I was thinking, well, maybe it's just something's not translating across. And to the credit, I did end up liking the game more playing it than just watching it. But something about this game's vibes, even just controlling it, are a little off. I don't think it's the shift to 3D that's doing it. I think it's mostly, frankly, the level design. And you can even see a little bit of what I'm saying thus far with how we played it. Not only is the plot kind of weird in how it kind of artificially lengthens itself with things like Steve wanting a fully automatic weapon, so that's our next goal, to get into that door in the secretary's office. But just the amount of times you visit sub-areas is noticeably higher. So, like, we did the stuff in the prison, we went to the palace, we went to that sub-area of the military training facility, but now we need to head to the military training facility to get an item, to go back to the palace, to go beyond that, and then we'll just go back and forth from there. In that regard, the scale is higher in Code Veronica, but admittedly, it kind of fits the 2-disc idea with how long this game gets to begin with. But I feel that also artificially lengthens the game in its own way, because you don't need to have that much backtracking. You can design each minor sub-area to be its own section of the game, and then you just never need to revisit it. The best example of that to me is, in terms of areas you go to and then leave, like the same way you came. Resident Evil 1's dormitory area on the side with the bar. Meet the Gulp Worm. It'll charge at you, it can hit you a couple ways. I think it can spit some acid at you in some regard. I do believe it also has an instant kill where it can just eat you whole, but as long as you just beeline it for any door you see, you won't need to worry about it too much for now. I think you can kill it, but I don't see a point in wasting all my ammo at this point, because it takes more than you'll have probably at this point as well. With that said, welcome to the military training facility. I feel at this point, this is probably my favorite point in the game, if only because I like the exploration here the best. Emergency, door lock system activating. The door says bio-experiment room. Abnormal error. I can't enter the pass number. We don't even have a pass number to begin with, so that about tracks. The main reason I want to come up here is for the bow gun, which is much more useful than it was in Resident Evil 2, I find. There's a file. Memo on the pass number. The emergency door lock system in the biology experiment room can be released with the 4-digit pass number. I hope you haven't forgotten about that already. I have just received an order from the system administrator requesting us to change the pass number periodically. What bothers me is that you often lose the important memos, pass numbers, or whatever. So in an attempt to solve that problem, I came up with an idea. You know the red human skeleton picture in the back of the biology experiment room? I have decided to use the number signed on the picture as the pass number. If you happen to lose the memo, just look at the picture. Well, I don't think you would ever need to use the emergency pass number anyway, but just in case, now you know. Take it easy, Mr. Careless. Well, good for us to know, I suppose. Now we just need to get a look at that picture, but it's dark in there, so oh well. There appears to be no one around. Red pictures hanging in the back. I can't see the number from here. Well, that was remotely disturbing. I guess we'll just look away and never think about that man again. I'm sure whatever killed him is not a threat to us whatsoever, right?
Biohazard contamination detected. Level 3. Emergency shutters will close. All personnel evacuate immediately.
That was close.
Alright, but now we have the bow gun, which is a surprisingly good weapon in this game. For one thing, it can hold a surprising amount of ammo. I think if you just get enough bow gun bolts, you can just get it up into the triple digits, like the high triple digits, like 300, 400 at times, it feels like. But unlike Resident Evil 2, it doesn't fire 3 bolts at once at 3 trajectories, it fires 1 at a time, so you need to mash the button to fire with it this time. But that also means you're concentrating your fire on one enemy at a time, making it feel like it's more useful. Each bolt, I think, is less powerful than a handgun bullet, but because you get so much ammo for it at a time, it doesn't really feel like it matters. Plus, usually when you down an ammo with the bow gun, I find usually they're just down for good. Because like mainline classic Resident Evil thus far, you can only tell if an enemy's dead for sure if there's a pool of blood beneath them. That is by and large universal for any zombie or any other enemy we're going to be encountering throughout. And admittedly, the moment you get it, they're really good at just giving you ammo for it. And anytime you just get ammo for it, just put it on in. I don't know where all those bolts are being stored, but I don't care. I feel the best evolution this game does, period, is outside of the graphical stuff, the refinements to the weapons, as there's a lot of weapons in the game, there's a lot of ammo for them, so they all get a chance to feel like they're useful. I know some people will bring up they like having scarcer ammo in Resident Evil, because it's been more action-y since, by and large, Resident Evil 2. I personally find these to be more the action survival horror game series anyway, compared to Silent Hill's more tense, atmospheric stuff. So I find it generally fits to have a lot of ammo. It's just whether or not you're reckless with the ammo that the real tension tends to come in, I find. Welcome to the bath. It's a bath. This is a weird room because it's kind of purposeless in the long run. You're just here to get a single key, and they never really talk about it. It's just kind of here. I don't know why, I've always just found this room kind of strange. Mind you, one could say that a lot of rooms in Resident Evil and Silent Hill are just there for a single key, and you know what? They're completely right. Like, I think back even to just Silent Hill 1, which we finished not too long ago. In Nowhere, there's those 2 rooms you just need 2 tools for, and you get 2 keys out of them. The main reason we want to come in here is for this storage key. This is completely optional. This is just here for you to get more ammo if memory serves, but I want all the ammo reserves I can get. That's one thing I will give Code Veronica as well, there's a surprising amount of minor side quests you can do for keys to get extra ammo, extra healing items. There's a surprising amount of optional rooms in this game compared to the prior games, where there's only really like, alright, here's the set of stuff you do to get the Magnum, here's the submachine gun or side pack, depending on which character you want to give which to in Resident Evil 2. And I feel like that's part of the reason this game also feels like it can be surprisingly long, is that there's a lot of just side stuff you can do. So it's a case of damned if you do, damned if you don't, I suppose. Because if you don't do this, the game is very to the point, yes, but there's also a lot less reserves for you. I don't know why, I always missed this map on my early playthroughs. I just never thought to investigate that computer. And again, that's part of the case where sometimes in what you can investigate is a lot more obvious in the classic Resident Evil trilogy than it is in Code Veronica because of the graphics. Because the pre-rendered backgrounds mean they have an easier time making a composition for the camera where what you can investigate is more obvious. The fully real-time graphics stuff looks great, yes, but you lose some of the camera work that goes into it. With that said, we're coming up where you use the storage key. It's right here in this room on this little locker here. In here is the extraordinarily potent, I think it's just bowgun powder? Yeah. What this does is it converts 10 of your bowgun darts into explosive darts. There's only like 40 of these in the game, period, I think. Maybe a little more than that. But they are extraordinarily powerful and should be saved for very specific boss fights. Do not use them unless I more or less say you should, because otherwise you're just wasting their power, it feels like. Now that I think about it, I'm not even sure if it's required to go up to that room to get the bowgun. So that's technically optional. The place you need to go to in here, you don't even have access to until you get that biohazard card back at the area after the submarine. So there's an order of operations in this game that I feel like you could even be more efficient than I'm doing here. I'm trying my best to remember the level design through my practice runs and just run through from there, but there probably are more efficient routes. And if there are, hey, I'm trying my best. I haven't played this game as much as I have Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 2. About as many times as I have Resident Evil 3, honestly. Move fast, because Alfred's pointing that gun at you, and unless you don't get to the stairs, he will shoot at you. But that's at the moment you start climbing the stairs, he just runs away. There's an indentation of the indigo blue plate. You've seen one of those before. Keep that in mind for later, because we will need to open that somehow. And now for this room, which starts off a really weird subplot that I'll talk about more towards the latter half of the game. Before you head into that room that is visible on screen right now, go around this corner and into this white room first, because this is a safe room. Which, A, is good just so you can reorder your inventory, but it allows you to grab a very key item. This green herb. No, I thought I would grab the other item first, because it's more in the camera. There we go, a hemostatic. We know who needs one of those, so I guess we should go take that to him eventually, huh? Also, not for nothing, Code Veronica's soundtrack is weird to me in that its general ambience is weaker than Resident Evil 2, but there's like 3 or 4 tracks that go really hard in this game. And I think the save room theme is one of them. It's not as good as like Resident Evil 1 or 2's save room theme, but I like it more than Resident Evil 3's. It's probably the most outright relaxing out of all of them, because there's no real tension to it, but I also think it's just a super relaxing piece. With that said, let's now go investigate that other door. Bring the M100P for safety.
Welcome, Claire. Consider the area you are in a special playground I have prepared just for you. Please try and keep me amused, and do not disappoint me by dying too soon. I so want to enjoy this.
Alfred, you're turning into a dolphin the more you laugh. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 4, we'll see what's behind door number 2. See you guys then.